Hello everyone and welcome back to Something for Every Nerd. Today on the channel we have another Let's Talk, and it's about Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm smiling, and I can't tell you why. Because the spoiler version is going to be a link in the description and also somewhere up on the top of the screen somewhere, so if you want to see the spoiler version, go ahead and click up there. I'll see you in the next video. This is going to be the spoilers-free initial reaction, get you guys hyped if you're not already hyped, or confirm or validate with some people, or be the odd one out with the conflicting opinion. So we all know how how the last Star Wars endeavor, Last Jedi, went. Mixed bag for a lot of people. And I feel like that's just going to be the way for every Star Wars movie from now on. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. Some people are going to love what Disney is doing with the franchise and how they're caretaking it, or not caretaking it, as some people might feel. Other people are going to be like, yeah, they're doing a good job. And I think for the most part, even with the issues that I had with Last Jedi, which were mostly like technical and a few like nitpicky or personal issues that I had, just with like DJ's character useless, incorporating Maz Kanata into Canto Bight as opposed to the Master Code Breaker could have been just as good. Yeah, but anyways, so we all know how my opinions of Last Jedi went, and I still enjoy it. I bought the movie. I bought it in Steelbook, so I enjoyed it enough to want to own it and still like Star Wars. Nothing is going to, not one movie is going to make me turn my back on the franchise or everything else. And to those that one movie does break the bank for you, I'm sorry. I mean, it's not my fault. I'm not the one who's making the movies, but you know, I feel sorry for you that your negativity towards it can be just that much that you have to walk away from it altogether or whatever. So anyways, because I'm gonna say my personal opinions, I loved Solo, a Star Wars film, a Star Wars story. I thought it was really good. I was really nervous going into it because I didn't want them to be like, we gotta hit these beats and we gotta hit them exactly to make it match up with how episode 4 and on went. And I'll get more into that in the spoiler version, but I feel like the way they handled this film, even with the whole switching out the directors halfway and doing reshoots and everything, I feel like it went okay. Because like I said, I enjoyed it. The first act kind of dragged a little bit, but I feel like that was more just getting used to the idea of someone else playing the iconic role of Han Solo and getting to know what their story is as the young Han Solo. The Han Solo before we know Han Solo. And I feel like towards the end of the film we get to return to a comfortable place where we're like, okay, this is the character, although it's a completely different actor. I feel like we get the familiar character of Solo by the end of the film. And I feel like that's really the takeaway. I feel like that's what really everyone wanted out of this. But yeah, like, I feel like the first act kind of dragged in certain spots just a little bit, but from like halfway through the second act going into the third act and then the ending was just amazing. I loved it. And Paul Bettany needed to be in Star Wars way before this film. I feel like he, as a good guy, a bad guy, a gray guy, I don't care who or what, but he needed to be in Star Wars way before Solo. Paul Bettany was just an incredible addition to the cast. I feel like all of them were decent additions. I didn't have any issues like Benicio del Toro in Last Jedi. I feel like he was the only bad addition to the family, as it were. And I hope he gets what's coming to him in episode 9. But that's beside the point. So yeah, I really enjoyed Solo. It was fun. It was energetic. like I said, it did drag at the beginning, but it picked up. I liked where they were going with it. Like I seeing which isn't a huge spoiler because I mean we kind of expect it, but seeing the different planets and everything affected by the Empire in this way and from that perspective was really refreshing to see in Star Wars, because we've only really seen how the other half lives as represented through the perspective of the Republic or the rebellion or the resistance. You know, we never really see I mean, if you want to talk about it, let's connect it back to Last Jedi. You know how Rose is telling Finn about all the hardships she endured as a child, and how you know, the First Order was just terrible. We get a sense of that, even though this is still in the Empire era. We get a really good sense of how shitty life was for the common person under the Empire's rule. Even on, you know, moderately decent planets, you know. Well, I mean, as it's set up, it's not necessarily a decent planet, without getting too spoilery. But yeah, like it was refreshing to see the negative effects of the Empire from the perspective of the lower class of Star Wars. So that was refreshing to see. I also had reservations, just going off of trailer stuff, about the whole I'm putting a team together, because I'm kind of getting tired of that. It feels like every movie nowadays is I'm getting a team together and going on a heist and doing this. But at my core, I do enjoy a good heist film. I do. I enjoy like your Oceans, your God, I can't even think of any others at the moment. But like your you know, put the crew together, bonding, familial, from varying walks of life, people that you would otherwise hate or that you do hate and then come to love or whatever, and they all just kind of come together and save the day in their own small way, or whatever way, you know, they get the goods, you know, whatever. And I enjoyed it. I did. There was one moment with Emilia Clarke's... There were several moments with Emilia Clarke's character that I felt off, that I'm going to talk about in the spoiler version of the Let's Talk. But, yeah. I don't know. And like I said, it built, and I liked where it was going. And there were a few kind of on-the-nose moments with, like, certain quips from Star Wars, but it balanced well for the scene that it was in. And I feel like that's kind of where the humor of Star Wars is going, and I feel like that's how the humor of Star Wars has been from the outset. Is it's like Star Wars isn't a funny film, but it does have funny moments in the specific connotations that it's in. Like, I feel like the prequels kind of got a little off base, especially with, like, Jar Jar's character being just slapstick. But I don't mind the humor in these newer movies. Like, a lot of people had issues with the humor at the very beginning of Last Jedi with the General Hux thing. I chuckled. I enjoyed it. I don't see what's wrong with a good laugh to offset the tension of an otherwise dark film. You know? I mean, if we were to remove all humor from Star Wars, I feel like you lose half of its soul. That's not good. I mean, if you want to go to New Hope in the original trilogy, like, Han kind of was the comedic relief. He was this snarky, arrogant, self-centered rogue that was like, you know, Han Solo, Captain of the Millennium Falcon. I made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. And everybody's just like, well, what the hell does that mean? And it's like, you know, he's this kind of smarmy, smooth-talking guy, and that was his comedy, you know? And I feel like there's always been an element of comedy in Star Wars, and there always will be. And anyone who has a problem with that needs to just get over it. But yeah, and I want to address, like, some of the bigger negative points that I've seen on Twitter just initially after seeing Solo. A lot of people were like, taking pictures of the auditorium, and it's like about to see Star Wars, and there's like 6 people in the house, or there's no one here, or whatever, LMAO. And it's like, yeah, I understand that, because a lot of people are kind of approaching Solo as like, I don't know, Last Jedi was kind of, and a lot of people, including myself, I felt like Solo was placed where it was in amongst the other Disney Marvel releases to die. But understanding where Star Wars has come from, it was actually released, if not on the exact same date, around the opening week of the original Star Wars film, and that's why they wanted to do it. It was weird because every other one has been December, but Star Wars was the original summer blockbuster. And yeah, so I understand that, and they even moved Avengers, and retinkered and retooled, and I feel like Solo will do all right in the end. And I feel like when people go to see it, if it's not the initial opening weekend, when people do go to see it, they will enjoy it. I feel like it's a very enjoyable Star Wars film. It's definitely a huge departure, and like it's the second in the anthology films. Okay, our first anthology film was Rogue One, and that had to deal with a lot of heavy stuff, and it had to kill a lot of characters, or otherwise place them to make the canonicity of everything match up, which I still feel to this day it did really well and succeeded at. So yeah, it's the second in the anthology films, and I feel like if Disney is going to continue to make Star Wars films, they can't all be one in the same. They all need to be different, provided their context. Like, if the next film is a Kenobi movie, it needs to be significantly different than the Skywalker saga and the prequels. It needs to be its own thing in its own right, with its own tone. And I feel like Solo did that. It had its own tone, and it had its own, merits to come from and to achieve. And I feel like it did. It did really... I enjoyed it very much. And I cannot wait to talk about this in the spoilers video, because there's this one moment at the end. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. And this was another negative thing that I saw just initially. People are saying negative things about when Disney does things like putting some of the expanded universe stuff into the films. Like, I don't know what I can say without giving a spoiler. But like anything that was from the comics or the books, people are shitting on the idea that, oh, well, if this is required reading, forgive the hell out of me, because I don't feel like I need to read 5,000 books, a comic, and a video game in order to understand the movie. And I don't feel like you need to, but if you have, that's a special treat for those people who did. And I feel like, if anything, that should inspire you as the audience to be like, whoa, wait a moment, that happened? When did that happen? And then you go back and you find out how it happened, and you're like, oh my god, I have a better appreciation for what they did in this film because I went back to see how it all played out here. So, but yeah, so people who are getting on this high horse about, well, I don't want to have to read, it's like, you know what, whatever. And like, I enjoy the comics. I haven't read many of the new books yet. I've been meaning to, I just haven't had time. But I want to read them because I love Star Wars and I want to know more. Like, prior to the new movies coming out, I just spent hours one day on Wikipedia just reading for the sake of reading, and it's like, holy shit, this happened and that happened and that happened, and this is all considered canon? That's amazing. And then when we realized that it was all kind of getting thrown out, it's like, well, that was still a really cool idea. I wonder if they'll bring any of that into the new stuff. And without that old expanded universe that they threw out, they wouldn't have had the ideas for some of the things that exist now in the films and in the television shows, like Thrawn from Star Wars Rebels. If they hadn't have had the games and the books by Timothy Zahn, they wouldn't have had the idea for this character that perfectly closed out Star Wars Rebels. You know, it's like, I mean, they haven't thrown it completely out. They're just using it as a font of inspiration to make this new universe with. And like I said, the reason that they branded it as Legends is because it still leaves it open to you. Like, George Lucas always like accepted everything as canon because he didn't want to say that nothing was canon or something wasn't canon, because he wanted to leave it open up to us to decide what's canon and what's not canon. And I feel like that's still the same thing. Like, it's still like, I still think Star Wars: The Force Unleashed totally could play into the new canon universe, but and a lot of people have issues with Star Wars: The Force Unleashed as a premise of a story, but I still feel like they're, you know, the idea of Legends is like, well, maybe Luke did have a wife that was the Emperor's hand, or maybe, you know, Han and Leia did have twins, like, did have Force sensitive twins, and then another child, and then there was like division within the family and the Force in general that effectively destroyed the family, you know, and things of that nature, you know, or you know, a Darth Vader's apprentice, you know, created the rebellion out of an act that the Empire wanted to snuff out the rebellion, but it grew to something bigger than itself. You know, it's like the idea of the Legends is still viable in my mind. It's like, you know, it's still open to your interpretation, and I feel like them bringing that stuff into like the cartoon shows and the comics and the books and everything is great. And when they put that stuff into the movies, that's even better. Like, honestly, like the Corellian or the Corellian the Hammerhead Corvette from Rogue One, that was a ship that was in Old Republic, okay? And people freaked out when they saw that. They were like, yes, oh my god, yes, you know. And it's like, I just really wish that the idea that fandom in general would just stop shitting on the things that they supposedly love. You know, it's one thing to be critical and say, I don't think that was the best choice, or I don't think this played off well. But to be like, well, this is trash because I gotta read like 5,000 books, or this is trash because the company made one bad decision, or this is trash because the company made one iffy movie, and everything is trash and they totally ruined everything that I loved about this movie and I'll never be able to watch it again. It's just bullshit. Get over yourself. Anyways, I think I've said all I can say without getting too spoilery. So I'm going to end the video here. I'm not going to do the spoiler video tonight. I'm going to see it again tomorrow. And by the way, this is like Thursday going to Friday. Like, it's the 25th now. I saw it the Thursday night. I just got back home. But yeah, so I'm going to go see it tomorrow again with friends. That'll cement a lot more of the film in my mind. Not that it's not all there, but I'd like to see it again so I can actually like hit home a lot of the points, and maybe just like upon second viewing, I can be a little bit more critical and be like, yeah, that was funny, but maybe it really doesn't work with this in this way. So once again, once I see it a second time, I can be a little bit more critical, like I was with Last Jedi. And like I said, you know, I feel like people are gonna like Star Wars or not like Star Wars, and to the people that don't like Star Wars, there's the door. We won't miss you. And to the people who love Star Wars, you know, yay, awesome, good on you. You know, I mean, nothing that anyone does is going to make me dislike Star Wars. You know. So, anyways, thank you all for watching. If you liked it, let us know. Like and comment down below. Subscribe if you're not already. And while you're at it, check out all of our other content. Tom's I Have Issues, where he talks about the issues that he has with comic books. I'd like to bring the Comic Nook back sometime soon so that we can talk about some of the things that have been going on in the Star Wars comics and other comics that are, you know, popular or relevant or whatever my friends are reading. We have, I'm going to say it now, we're going to have Sly Cooper on the channel, replacing what was the Spyro series until the new Spyro game comes out. Then I'll play that once that comes out. SWOTOR with me and Joe. Hopefully an episode will have come out by now, and more to come. I'm going to try to do that at least on a monthly basis. We're still working it out. The Let's Talks like this, so far we've just done the couple on Star Wars, but I'd like us to do more. We might roll back and do like Avengers and Deadpool and a few others just to have stuff to talk about, like, yeah. So anyways, Grab Bag of Friendship, Dive into the Hearts podcast. Check me out every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Janky Shenanigans Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Janky Shenanigans for the Pop Cultured Podcast, where we talk about stuff like this, and I'm sure that next Wednesday we'll be talking about this to some extent. But yeah, so once again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you nerds next time. Goodbye, everyone.